serial killers that are still on the loose today. Now, this video came out during Halloween, but I low-key just got in on my recommendation just like a minute ago, and I was like, yo, well, I'm actually kind of interested, because, it's serial killers, and I'll be watching shows and stuff about serial killers, and I'm like, damn, I'm glad I wasn't alive during that time. But now, apparently, there's still serial killers out there, which, isn't surprising, but like, uh, let's just see.
Serial killers that are
I hope
still
there's
on the loose.
no serial
According
killers
to the
living
FBI,
near
there
me.
could be up to 50 active serial killers in the United States right now.
Wait, how
That's
much?
Literally, there could be up to 50 active serial
50.
killers in the United States right now. That's literally.
Alright, when you compare it to the grand scheme of things, 50 isn't a lot, but still, it is a lot. It's not a lot when you look at the numbers comparing how big the population of America is, but it is a lot though. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it,
every
but
state in the United States. For this year's Halloween special, I knew I wanted to talk about serial killers, but I also knew I wanted to make it extra creepy, which is why I wanted to discuss not serial killers who we all know and have been put to jail or put to death. I wanted to discuss serial killers that are currently active or still on the loose to this day. Being on the loose and being active are two different things, which is why this video is a bit of a double feature. I'm going to start by going through every serial killer who's still walking among us, and then I'm going to build up to not only serial killers who are on the loose, but are also on the loose and active to this very day. So without further ado, let's talk about killers that could technically kill you. The I-70 killer. The year is 1992. You are the manager working at a local shoe store, and you have just began your shift. Today was like any other day. You were alone in the store, and the store was quiet. That was until one peculiar-looking man walked in. He enters the store looking directly at you and doesn't say much, although he asks you if you could find something for him in the back. You oblige and walk in the back, only to realize you've been followed. And before you can understand what's going on, you hear the click of a gun, and your life flashes. Unfortunately, that is a real story of one of the victims of the I-70 killer. And this victim was one of many.
The I-70
killer
bro,
is
how do
named
they,
after the
bro, they be coming up with like the weird, like they be coming up of like the craziest names, like the I-70 killer. Like who comes up with things like this?
I-70
Like
highway, because every single one of the murders attributed to
the
him has taken
I-70
place
killer,
only a few
the
miles
Zodiac
off of the
killer.
highway.
Like
For
there's
those
always
unfamiliar,
a tough
the I-70
name with
highway
these
is one of
killers.
the longest interstates or highways in the entire United States and runs from Utah to Maryland. That alone is an interesting fact we'll get into later, but more on the killer himself. It's believed that the I-70 killer was most active from 92 until 94, although murders as recently as 2001 have also been attributed to him. Very little is known about the I-70 killer, and every murder that is associated with him is because of the extremely consistent methodology this man used. Almost every victim of the I-70 killer follows the same criteria. The victim was a woman working alone in a retail location only a few miles off the I-70 highway and was nearly clinically executed with a 22mm bullet to the back of the head. Now, interestingly, all of the murders attributed to the I-70 killer showed little to no signs of assault or robbery after the murder took place, meaning that this killer likely killed simply for the satisfaction of killing, which is just more evidence in case you weren't convinced that this person was twisted already. Now, it's important to note that there are
Killers are just twisted people. Like serial killers, obviously they're crazy people, but I just can't understand them, bro. Like you kill people just to do it, bro. Like that's just insane.
Few murders from the I-70 killer that are a bit unorthodox.
And there's also people who like are carnivores that they eat their own, they eat humans. There's people that eat humans. There's been serial killers that have done that.
Authorities that the I-70 killer believed one of the employees was alone, when in reality the employee and store owner were both present at the location, and the I-70 killer decided to kill both of these people. As of today, there's believed to be anywhere from 6 to over 9 killings attributed to the I-70 killer. And interestingly, with these murders taking place relatively recently, and the sheer volume of murders that took place, there is quite a bit of evidence and information taking place. But interestingly, even with technology that existed at the time, which was only the early 90s, and the technology that exists today, which is way more advanced, there is still absolutely no clue as to who the I-70 killer could be. And all we have are a few artist depictions based.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie. When you look at these suspicions, I can't even say it, but drawings, bro, drawings of how the person looks like, bro. I don't know who be drawing them, but they be drawing the most creepiest drawing of a person, bro. Like you cannot tell me this does not look creepy right here. This one all the way on the left, and this one right in the middle, right. Like the all the way on the right, this is straight up creepy as drawing.
Off of a few eyewitness accounts. My mind is still a bit blown that with over 6 active crime scenes that have all been extremely consistent in a relatively modern
how
time
bad
period,
was technology back in the 90s?
And it doesn't look like we're ever going to get anytime soon. And for people who claim to have seen the I-70 killer, they said that they saw a skinny white man, roughly 5'7" to 5'9", in their 20s to 30s at the time. Authorities across the United States are still actively searching for the true identity of the I-70 killer to finally bring him to justice. And today, investigators believe that the I-70 killer is likely between the ages of 52 and 70, meaning that it's extremely likely that he's still alive and roaming the streets today. Although it's believed that he's either retired from killing or simply changed his methods so his new murders cannot be attributed to his now infamous persona. The I-70 killer wasn't the only killer of this kind. There's also an I-70 strangler and an I-65 killer, but even those aren't
bro,
all
I'm just saying, bro, with the names, bro, like, obviously these people are bad and the killers are bad, but why do they always come with the most toughest name for them? The I-70 killer, the I-65, like, bro, like, damn.
The FBI has even stated explicitly that a disproportionate amount of murderers and serial killers have been truck drivers, simply because their lifestyle is so conducive for serial killing. They're consistently traveling city to city, they're hanging out in locations that are relatively temporary, you know, rest stops, gas stations, and they always have a reason to be going somewhere. And truck drivers and trucks, for the most part, kind of fly under the radar. In regards to the I-70 killer specifically, the authorities don't know what his occupation was, but they do believe that he was either a truck driver, a drifter, or somebody who traveled with I-70 frequently.
The thing is about truck drivers is that they're constantly moving. Like, they have like a certain amount of time that it should take to, you know, deliver whatever they're delivering, right? They have to meet that quota, and if they're late, bro, I'm pretty sure they get like in trouble with that. So how do they even find the time to do stuff like this?
For work. So I guess all I can say is,
like, how much free time do truck drivers actually have?
Keep your distance. The Eastbound Strangler. The year is 2006. You and your dog are staying in a cheap motel outside of Atlantic City because you've fallen on pretty hard times, and you decide to go out for your daily walk. You walk your dog on the usual route around the motel when you notice that your dog is particularly inquisitive about something behind the motel. He keeps trying to draw you down to this drainage ditch, and while you're unwilling to go down there, you figure something suspicious is going on. You get back to your room and inform police, and after they arrive, they knock on your door and tell you that what you called them about was extremely concerning, and what was found in that drainage ditch was extremely disturbing. Inside that drainage ditch lay 4 dead women. All
Damn,
of the
4?
Found in this ditch were identified as sex workers in the area, and all of these women were laid extremely methodically. These women were all face down in the drainage ditch, roughly 6 feet apart from each other. All of their heads were pointed eastbound, and all of them were fully clothed except for having their socks and shoes removed, and all of them were strangled to death. The way that these women were killed and the way that their bodies were found is, of course, where the relatively twisted name of Eastbound Strangler came from. Now, basically everything I've just told you is almost everything that's currently known about the Eastbound Strangler, and unfortunately, that kind of just comes with the territory when you're talking about serial killers that are still on the loose. They're on the loose for a reason, and that's because not much is known, or at least not enough to find them, let alone convict them. And unfortunately, this leaves a lot of room to speculation. And I would argue that if this serial killer was at least strong enough to strangle and move the bodies of 4 women into a ditch, then it's likely that they weren't extremely old when these killings took place. And because these killings took place only 19 years ago, I would say it's very likely that whoever killed these 6 women is still alive today and possibly still active, because all of these 4 murders were only linked together because all of the bodies were found in the same place. But if this killer decided to just go in any other place in the country and kill somebody in any other way, well, nobody's going to really suspect the Eastbound Strangler, the Jeff Davis.
Bro, and the thing is about serial killers, bro, it really be the people you least expect it to be. Like, legit, they're the people you least expect it to be. They literally look normal, they look common. You know, there's something like distinguished about them. But they any second now, when daylight falls, bro, and it's nighttime, bro, it's wraps. It's wraps.
Fortunately, the Jeff Davis 8 situation does have quite a bit of information surrounding it. However, this information, while not only upsetting, only leads to more questions than answers. The Jeff Davis 8, or the Jennings 8, refers to a series of murders that took place between 2005 and 2009 in the small town of Jennings, Louisiana. All 8 of the Jeff Davis 8 victims were women, but more interestingly than that, they were also connected to each other. Not only did they all live in similar circumstances of being young women struggling with poverty, drug use, and prostitution, but they also literally knew each other. Several of the victims in this case were also police informants, and some of these informants even ratted on each other to the same police station. And police station is something we'll discuss just in a sec. All 8 of these women were killed in similar ways and dumped in similar locations, with the murder methods used being strangulation, suffocation, or drowning. And the areas these bodies were dumped were either in swamps or canals in remote areas outside of Jennings. Now, it's reported that when these bodies were found, it's shown that there was an active attempt to have these bodies unidentifiable once found. And it's also suggested that whoever placed these bodies in these extremely remote...
Bro, it's just a killer, bro. Bro, I swear, this big bro. When you go to, like, when you describe the person you saw, right, like the witness, when they describe them and the person drawing them, bro, it takes a certain amount of talent to actually draw something as accurate to depict someone you never like seen. It's, bro, shout out to the people who be drawing, bro. They make him look really creepy though, but they be accurate sometimes.
Locations, was very familiar with the local terrain due to how specific these locations were and also how hard they were to get to. Off the bat, this case sounds like any of our other cases. Sure, a group of women unfortunately were killed and went missing because they lived in unfortunate situations and were vulnerable to psychopaths that were looking to kill innocent people. But once you look deeper into this case, you realize that while they're and were vulnerable to psychopaths that were looking to kill innocent people. But once you look deeper into this case, you realize that while there very likely could have been a serial killer who killed these 8 women, it's also...
I'm gonna be honest, there's also a possibility, yeah, because like he said, there were like sex workers. There's also a possibility that it was straight an organization, bro, that does trafficking, like an organization.
Very highly suspected that there was some police involvement, and the theories on the
Police
involvement of
involvement
these
is
police varies
crazy.
drastically. Some people believe that the local authorities not only executed the planning, killing, and hiding of these women's bodies, while others suspect that the local police were simply complicit in the situation and didn't put much effort into investigating the situation simply because of who the victims were. Now, whether you believe that the Jeff Davis 8 killer was a single serial killer or potentially a group of people involved in law enforcement, the same conclusion can be drawn. Nobody has ever been charged for the murders of these 8 women, and unfortunately, it doesn't look like anybody ever will. Which
How
means
long
that
ago
the
is this?
lunatic or lunatics who killed these 8 women are definitely on the loose.
It could have been a
walking
group.
among us today. To me, this is another case that just rings so odd because there was literally 8 murders that took place over 4 years in super modern history. Like, we're talking 2005 to 2009. Like, the
Wait. So, the span of 4 years, those 8 bodies were found, and it happened in 2004 and 2009. Like, technology back then, obviously, is nothing compared to what it is today, but it wasn't that terrible. Like, it was really good. So it's actually crazy to me to see that they never even found the person, or even got like an actual close evidence towards the finding the persons.
Technology wasn't where it is now, but it was definitely advanced enough to have some progress on this. So the fact that 8 murders can take place in 4 years in the exact same place and nothing ever comes of it
Is that same
extremely
place
suspicious,
too?
which is why
I missed that.
I don't think that looking more closely at law enforcement is a bad idea. And if you watch some of the documentaries or read some of the books about the
Jeff
situation,
Davis
then
8.
you'll definitely get a deeper perspective on the potential law enforcement involvement. The West Mesa Bone Collector. The year is 2009. You are an active outdoorsman, and this time you decide
we're actually
that
getting
something
closer
that would be
now.
fun to
This
try
happened in
is testing your
2009.
survival skills in the middle of the desert. And that's when you decide to try living off the land in Albuquerque's West Mesa. You spend your first day on the trip hiking and getting familiar with the landscape, until, while hiking through a mesa, you see something sticking out of the ground. It doesn't look like a flower or cactus, and as you get closer, you realize that this is a bone, but it doesn't look like any animal bone you've ever seen, and you realize that what you're looking at is a human bone. Immediately, you call the authorities, and within hours, the police have not only dug up one body, they've actually dug up the remains of 11 women and girls. The West Mesa Bone Collector is, first of all, just an insane name to give a serial killer, and second of all, one of the most infamous unsolved cases in modern history. It's unnerving how recent some of these cases are and how little information is actually available.
2009. 2009 is not that far.
The bodies were discovered in 2009.
decade.
However, it's believed that the murders took place from 2001 until 2005. Following the unfortunate trend already evident in this video, all of the victims of the West Mesa Bone Collector were women.
Bro, you need to take account that these are like the things that people found. There's definitely like more like murders out there that hasn't even been caught yet. Like their bodies haven't been caught of the victims that they murdered. These are the ones that they found. There's probably plenty of bodies in like open deserts, like in Nevada or whatever, waiting to be found.
But not only were they women, some of these women were sex workers, and some of them were just struggling with homelessness and addiction. But definitely most saddening of all is some of these women weren't even women at all. Out of all of these 11 victims, well, technically 12, one was a 15-year-old girl and one was an unborn child. Because all of the bodies were skeletal remains by the time...
What? Wait, what? Huh?
One was a 15-year-old girl and one was an unborn child.
An unborn child, bro. Damn. And it was a 15-year-old girl too. Wow.
Because all of the bodies were skeletal remains by the time they were finally found, authorities were not able to determine
that's actually
a definitive
crazy.
cause of death. Although they did say that trauma on the body,
especially how recent
while
this
the murder
happened.
methods of the Mesa killer are unfortunately unknown, the one consistent variable in the situation is the method of hiding the bodies. Every single one of these 11 bodies was hidden in the exact same location, with the bodies being wrapped and then placed underground in an active effort to make sure these bodies were never found. And while the bodies were eventually found, the killer never was. At least not yet. And once again, this is another upsetting situation of potential mismanagement from the authorities. Because seriously, how do at least 11 women go missing in 4 years without anybody saying anything? And then when all of these women are found in the exact same location, even then, nothing is then known or discovered for the next 20 years. It's so disheartening. And I didn't mean for this video to be a bummer. It was kind of supposed to be scary, but I guess with this sort of situation, it, well, comes with the territory. But regardless, with these murders taking place only from 2001 to 2005, it is extremely likely that the killer who executed these murders is still alive today and walking among us. The Rainbow Killer. The Rainbow Killer is the first killer we're discussing that is not from the United States. Although the serial killer does still have a stereotypical, insane serial killer nickname.
Oh, damn. So all the previous killers were in the United States. Damn.
And the Rainbow Killer got his nickname because he was targeting and assassinating gay men in Brazil. Whoever is giving these serial killers names seriously needs to chill. But back on a serious note,
that's what I'm saying. The names that be coming up are insane.
And during this time, it's believed that the Rainbow Killer killed at least 13 gay men, all between the ages of 20 and 40, and all of them being shot in the head. Like some of the other cases in this video, it was suspected that the alleged serial killer could actually be a member of law enforcement. However, in this situation, this was something that other authorities took seriously. And in 2008, the same year that the murders were actually ongoing, the Sao Paulo Public Safety Department actually made a public statement statement announcing that the killer might actually be a police officer, which I think is a very bold and respectable claim for the government to say. Like, if one of their own is doing this,
whoa,
it's
bro,
important.
you never see something like that. I never seen something like that where like the police department be saying it might be one of our own. That's crazy, and like to take accountability like that is insane.
That they'd be able to speak up about that. Interestingly, later
Usually
that
they
same year,
be
December of
hiding it if
2008,
they
a
suspect that
Brazilian
it's one
police
of their
officer was
own.
actually arrested because an alleged eyewitness stated that he saw this police officer kill a gay man by shooting him 12 times. And on top of this, another eyewitness reported to authorities that they saw the same police officer often hanging out in the same park where all of these gay men were being harassed and killed. Now, with two very strong eyewitness claims, obviously there was a case against this police officer. And for the first time in this video, it seems like there may be justice served. However, that was not the case, because in 2011, 3 years later, the police officer that was alleged of killing this gay man and potentially being the Rainbow Killer was released after his trial because it was declared that he was not guilty by the jury. And whether you believe that it was actually this police officer or someone else entirely, the end result is the same. The Rainbow Killer, responsible for killing over 13 gay men, is still on the loose to this day. The vending machine murders. The year is 1985,
Bro, these
and you are
names,
excited because you are on your first trip to Japan. You told yourself that on this trip, you're gonna live like the locals, and it was at this point that you decided to get involved into vending machine culture. Luckily, vending machines are something that are not hard to find in Japan, and you quickly on your walk are able to find one on the side of the road. You walk up to this vending machine fully intending to buy a drink, and you realize that there was actually a perfectly good sealed drink sitting on the top of a vending machine. Knowing that Japanese culture is so wholesome and giving, you realize that somebody must have bought this just to give away for free, and you decide to receive the gift. This drink was an orange-flavored energy drink, and that was something.
Bro, this is legit why, like, the process of natural selection, bro. There's no way you just, like, first of all, if you see a random drink anywhere, bro, like on top of vending machine, anywhere, bro, place, or like in this area right here where people be sitting, do not drink it, bro. Why are you drinking a drink that you have no idea what has been done to it, bro? Like that's like just, bro, that's just bad awareness skills, bro. That's bad survival skills right there.
At that time. After drinking
Really
drink and
bad
going on with your day, you realize
survival
that you
skills.
don't really feel
My
too
fault.
good. You go home feeling sick, trying to sleep it off. But when you get into your bed to take a nap, you never woke up. The story I just told is based off of the reality of 13 people in Japan. From April to
13 people. No, bro, do not tell me 13 different people saw a random drink and decided to drink
November in 1985, 13 people were murdered and 35 people got seriously sick because they drank poisoned drinks left on the top of vending machines. Now, if you're asking yourself, who's just drinking drinks left on the top of vending machines?
That's what I'm saying.
A lot of people actually, and that's because this drink at the time was having low sales. And because these drinks were having low sales, they were offering buy one, get one free promotions in certain vending machines. So it wasn't necessarily uncommon to find the extra bottle left on top as a gift on top of the vending machine. And because
I don't care about none of that, bro. I'm not drinking this random ass drink.
And they had seen
I am
other
not
places
drinking
this drink
the
was left
random
on
drink
top.
that
It
I
wasn't
see.
unheard of to take this drink or potentially even leave this drink for someone else. But unfortunately, this fun gesture of paying it forward was severely abused by one or potentially multiple twisted individuals when they decided to leave laced drinks with paraquat on top of vending machines. Paraquat was a very popular herbicide, and while it was a popular herbicide, it also wasn't a stranger to deaths, as in the previous year of 1984, over 1,300 people took their own life by ingesting this toxic substance. The ways in which these victims died varied pretty significantly, with some victims dying within hours of drinking the poisoned beverage, with others dying after 6 weeks of excruciating pain. The Japanese police never received or discovered any leads associated with this string of murders. However, they believe that this string of poisonings was all executed by a single person. There was never any video evidence of this individual, and there was no physical evidence, and the only true response to this entire situation was nationwide prevention campaigns to further prevent poisonings with other products in Japan. However, those didn't stop future poisonings, because in 1998 and even in 2019, there was other reported cases of intentional poisonings via a beverage, with some of those also using the same toxic agent, paraquat. This situation is just
what
super
be going on in
but
Japan?
The murders, because there was no in-person violence, there was no motive, there was no specific target, there was no trend.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie,
You didn't know or
2019
care
is
if he was
too
poisoning
close to home.
children, elderly
2019
people,
is
pregnant
way
women.
too
They just
close
wanted
to
to kill
home.
people, and unfortunately, they did exactly that and got away with it. Considering these murders took place in 1985, there is a chance that whoever executed these murders could be dead by now, potentially by natural causes or other. However, I would say that it's also likely that whoever did this is still roaming the streets of Japan today, and unfortunately, still a free individual. Just to give you some context about how little information there really is in all of these unsolved cases, the numbers that I gave you
what's
about how
the
many people were
point?
sick and died only came out in 2012, meaning that from 1985 until 2011, not much was known about how many people died during this stint of poisoning or how many
shoot, it
people
could
were
be
injured
much
at all. And
more.
it's for this reason that a lot of the serial killers that are still on the loose are from at least over a decade ago, because it takes so much time to gather small scraps of information that are available and connect the dots. But the reality is, with these situations, these people are on the loose because information was not available.
So you're telling me there
was
can
simply
be
not put together.
happening killings happening right now, but we don't know until a decade later because of like the amount of information, limited information coming out.
Who committed at least 7 murders between 2004 and 2007 in Shapovitz, Russia. This killer is known as the Danielovsky maniac because 3 of the murders he committed
maniac.
took place in an abandoned construction site on Danielovsky
Then
Street. Like every other depraved individual on this list, this killer targeted women. He would assault them, kill them, and then hide their bodies in construction sites across the city. And multiple of his victims were girls under the age of 18. The Danielovsky maniac is believed to be active as early as 1999 and as late as 2010. And with nearly 11 years of crime, 7 confirmed killings, and 14 possible killings, there was quite a bit of information being processed by the police. However, nobody was ever caught. But this wasn't due to a lack of effort. In 2008 alone, over 200 people were interviewed to see if they knew anything or potentially were the murderer, and the police were even offering up to 500,000 rubles for any information. However, this reward has still gone unclaimed. One disturbing trait that was common for the Danielovsky maniac
how much is that
crude
in
drawings
USD?
at the scene of each murder to essentially taunt police. These drawings were graphic in nature and extremely upsetting considering the context. As of 2024, authorities
not only does not only does this guy assault, he also murders. And he leaves behind hentai. And what kind of serial killer is this?
Not publicly named any suspects in this case, and all of the cases associated with the serial killer are unfortunately unsolved. The only information that the authorities are able to give publicly is that they believe that the serial killer is likely alive and potentially between the ages of 58 and 73, and may have bald spots in their hair. And if that description sounds extremely vague to you, well, that's because it is. I feel like at least 40% of Russia's population fits that description, so it's not very helpful. Although, even this minuscule amount of information is better than the no information available in some of the other cases we've discussed on this list. It's no secret that we've discussed some seriously sick and twisted individuals so far on this list. However, we're not done yet, because like I mentioned, we're going to end the video with serial killers that are on the loose and active to this very day, with confirmed kills within the last—
Alright, bro, this is about to get scary. I'm not gonna lie to you. These are serial killers. The serial killers that he's been giving so far happened like a decade ago or more than a decade ago. These are the ones that are actively doing it to this day.
last few years, or potentially even more recently. And if you thought there was limited information about the serial killers we've discussed so far, well, buckle up, because all of the active serial killers we've discussed have almost nothing known about them, and that's, like I mentioned, part of the nature. One thing that I've learned from making serial killer videos and kind of researching serial killers in general is that serial killers are more or less of a retrospective game. It typically takes many years after the fact for authorities to be able to piece things together and put together a proper timeline of exactly what happened and connect all of the dots that tie a single killer to all of the different victims. Now, with that being said, that doesn't mean that there's nothing for us to discuss. There's just not many examples, and they're relatively vague, which is why I'm going to do a bit of a speed run, and the speed run is about to get crazy, but not as crazy as how many of you aren't actually subscribed. So if you do enjoy these videos and like my cute pumpkin outfit, then consider being a bro and subscribing. We're getting so close to 1 million subscribers. But okay, let's go through this speed round of serial killers that are active right now. We're starting in Mexico, and it's not necessarily one individual, it's actually a place. And this place is known as the Highway of Death. It's basically a 136-mile stretch of a federal highway that since 2022 has seen the death of at least 71 individuals who have been provably—
Holy shit. Since 2022, there's been 71 people killed, bro. What?
Murdered. Beyond these 71
Bro, it has to be something linked up to the cartel, bro.
Murders on this highway. There's believed to be over 200 potential murders that have taken place on this highway since 2020, and the number
I know
is
that'd be a problem over there
in
Mexico.
It's not necessarily believed that only one serial killer is responsible for all these murders, and authorities believe that this is most likely the work of cartels. But they have explicitly said that they are not writing off lone criminals to also be responsible for some of the murders that have taken place on this highway. Meaning that if anything, this stretch of highway is not home to just one serial killer, but multiple. 18 different individuals who were attacked on the highway and survived, all claim that they were abducted by armed men and tortured before being released or escaping. And while no motivation is given beyond that, it further adds to the theory that cartel intervention is happening. Although if the cartels are doing this, begs the question of what is their motivation? Just because somebody's a member of the cartel, that doesn't mean that they're not a rogue serial killer on their off time. Another ongoing situation that's taking place not in Mexico, but in Canada is known as the Highway of Tears. On the now infamous Highway 16—
bro, I think I've heard of this, the Highway of Tears, which is like a lot of murders have been happening to a lot of indigenous women. I'm pretty sure.
In Canada, from 1970 up until the modern day, like right now, over 80 women and girls, primarily indigenous women and girls, have been murdered or have gone missing while walking on the side of this highway. With this string of murders ongoing—
That's a long walk, bro. That's a long walk.
Now for over 50 years, it is believed that murdering innocent people on this highway has become more or less of a multi-generational tradition among seriously twisted individuals. And it's believed that not one, but many individuals have killed innocent women on this highway for a plethora of disturbing reasons. Going right back down to Mexico, we're discussing the toy car murderers. This is once again not necessarily one killer, but a group of killers who live in Sinaloa. These murders took place from 2019 to 2023 and still may be ongoing to this day. They have 5 proven victims and 6 possible victims. And this killer or group of killers are known as the toy car killers because they are specifically targeting car thieves. Yeah, like this is some Dexter stuff. These individuals are identifying car thieves, shooting them in the head, leaving them for dead.
Okay, hold on. Okay, so like they're not killing. I mean, they're killing people who are doing wrong things, like car thieving. So they're basically like Vince Antilles. How do you fucking say? Like, I'm searching all my words. They're like like they're Vincent Antilles. Vincent, like what's Deadpool? Like he's not a hero or a villain. He's like a Vincent. I can't even fucking say it, bro.
Leaving toy cars on their body as
Like
a
an
calling card.
anti-hero.
Authorities believe that this is some form of vigilante justice, and the actions are
Yeah,
being
that
taken out by
word.
either
Vincent, but I don't know why I can't say it today.
on their body as a calling card. Authorities believe that this is some form of vigilante justice, and the actions are being taken out by either one person or a group of organized people, all with the same hatred of car thieves. Having a serial killing calling card in 2023 is some seriously diabolical stuff. And don't get me wrong, stealing somebody's car is really messed up. But if you're going to create an organized crime murder vigilante justice group, I feel like there are probably other crimes you could go after.
I think there's definitely worse crimes than car thieves.
Not advocating for vigilante justice or murder, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like there's probably other things you could be more motivated by, but what do I know? Heading over to the States, we have the Little Rock serial stabbings. From 2020 to 2021, there were 3 confirmed fatal stabbings in Little Rock, Arkansas. All 3 of these stabbings were believed to be committed by the same person, and unfortunately, there is absolutely no information about who was stabbing these people and why they were stabbing these people. Authorities are actively investigating the situation, and hopefully justice and answers are brought forward soon. Jumping over to Pakistan, we have the Jankil grave. In 2020, a grave containing the bodies of 4 teenage boys was found. One of these boys was decapitated, one of them was shot, and 2 of them were stoned to death. The only connection between all of these bodies were the fact that they were buried in the same place. But beyond that, nobody knows who killed these boys, why they killed them, or when this even happened. The situation has been going since 2020, and minimal updates have been provided since then. There has been numerous protests in Pakistan demanding justice for these young boys, but unfortunately, answers or justice have not been given yet, and this killer, along with all others, are still at large. Heading over to Mali, of all places, we have the Fana beheadings, which took place from 2018 to 2022 when 10 confirmed individuals were beheaded in a ritualistic decapitation. Upon investigation, it was confirmed that none of these victims had anything in common, and their heads were eventually found separately, but all of these bodies had their blood drained, which is why it was believed these bodies were used for ritualistic purposes.
when I heard ritual, bro, like satanic, nah, bro, that's nah. They're doing some demonic shit right there.
Since these murders, investigations have been ongoing and updates have been minimal. However, these murders did shock the region of Africa, and the UN has actively inserted themselves in the situation to try to, quote, continue to make sustained efforts to protect civilians. And for the final entry on this entire list, we have a man named Vampire, a Kenyan serial killer who was active from 2022 to 2024, and in that time killed a confirmed 42 women. Vampire is a 33-year-old Kenyan man in Nairobi, and after his 42 woman killing spree from 2022,
is he wearing an Everton bro? Is he wearing an Everton shirt, bro? No wonder.
33-year-old Kenyan man in Nairobi, and after
no
his
wonder he's a serial killer
killing spree from 2022 to 2024, he actually was arrested, but shortly after being arrested, escaped custody and has not been heard from or seen since. It is believed by some in Kenya that the police actively aided in the escape of the serial killer, which is extremely disheartening if true. As we conclude this video, I do just want to make a quick reminder that everything I discussed in this video is real. These are real victims with real families and real friends and real lives destroyed and ruined and taken. I try my absolute best to make these videos informative and respectful. Besides that, I want to say thank you guys for enjoying, and I hope you have a
yeah, bro, that's actually, it's all sad, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you, but the ones that are recent right now are actually crazy, bro. Hey, let me know what y'all think. What y'all think? I'm gonna be honest. I was low-key kind of scared he would choose a lot more like American, like more states in America that have active serial killers, but like there's only like 1 state that's active right now, like Arkansas. But and then there's Canada. And then Mexico. No, it's actually kind of close by. I'm not gonna lie. But hey, comment down below what you like, what you didn't like about the video, and what y'all want me to react to next. And I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace. And I'm gonna try to be as consistent as possible with my uploading schedule. I'm not gonna lie. All right, y'all stay safe.